live from the Steel Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan. It's your boys, the Cannonball, the Cannon, the Steel Twins. Happy Wednesday, everybody! Hey, I'm going to turn this down a little bit.
Yeah, just a smidge.
Let's try to get the clipping down.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to try, but welcome. We hope you had a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. When in a day, sun's out, so we probably might not get many viewers tonight. But you can watch after the fact, and that would help us a lot.
Oh yes, it certainly will.
So obviously, I'm rocking the classic Hodgkin's lymphoma shirt,
along with myself.
Mm-hmm.
We're twinning it up.
The Cancer Defeater brothers are back in business. Yes, I was. For those of you watching for the very first time and going, "Wow, this dick." I legitimately, as of last Saturday, April 29th, a year before, I was in fact diagnosed with classic Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I had to undergo chemo treatments for 6 months. But I was declared cancer-free in November, and I've been doing really well ever since. So this is a reminder. It's also a badge for me. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about the second half of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So the first half, we saw one of the best trials we've seen thus far in the Ace Attorney series that we've done. Obviously I played through the first game. It was tremendous. So playing through this second game is going to be interesting. Like I said, this whole thing is going to probably take all the way to the end of June. But tonight, things are going to be a little bit different.
Oh, yes.
Now, what is it? Well, tune in, dudes. I tried to tell you. So, okay, I am going to readjust my chair.
Give him time.
I was practically slouching. It was quite weird. But folks, I think we do have one more little piece of business to discuss. So tonight's episode is going to be unofficially brought to you by Rainstorm. Get it? Mm-hmm. Rainstorm.
Rainstorm.
So anyway, if you have a top to your bottle or a pin to your can, go ahead and pull that pin. Hey, package. What time is it?
It's time to get bombed.
Cheers to you.
Cheers, Mike.
That's crisp and clean. That's crisp and clean with no caffeine, bro. Wait a minute. That's plenty of caffeine. Never mind.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll find out. So, it's 7 o'clock. It's Wednesday night. I'm ready to get this started. How are you?
Oh, yes, I am.
All right. We're going live scene.
I will tell you, though, that my brother and I went together before, on Monday or so, and he has agreed to swap one of my voice acts to him.
Yeah, we had to call an audible because we realized that it was going to become the package show, the Cannon show.
Yeah.
So a lot of returning roles, but you'll find out which role it is. And here's the real beauty. If you guys can't tell which role was swapped throughout the end of the night, let's not tell them. Let's let them figure it out on their own.
Yeah, okay.
If you guys can't tell which role was swapped, we'll have done our job.
Yes.
So anyway, load a game.
Are you sure?
Oh no, we want to load a game. We're going to select an adventure. You're right. So, okay. So the first game was Ace Attorney Adventures. The second game is Resolve.
Oh yes.
Okay, I didn't know if there was a third one. I really wanted there to be a third one.
Oh, no.
Okay, new game. So, take it away, voice actors. I think.
Yep,
yes.
Here we go.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
Yes, very.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean. Those days in London, seem like a dream. But I do miss my time in England's vast capital. You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer.
Yep.
I've no doubt that at this very moment, he's fighting some noble cause in court.
Well.
Forgive me for taking so long to come to visit you. My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned. And no one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home.
I find myself faced with another awful crime.
What?
What the?
Oh.
Wait a minute. That face.
That face is very familiar.
So I came here today to ask something of you. Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer.
What?
Lawyer? What? Wait a minute.
Uh-oh. Hey, wait a minute. Uh-oh.
You mean...
Oh, wait a minute. What? What
So
the?
please, I ask for your guidance.
Oh, my lord.
Kazuma-sama.
Yep. Wow, yeah. Way to remind us of the awful past game. Really, really well done. Okay, here we go.
Episode 1. The Adventure of the Blossoming Attorney.
Why has he got pink hair? Oh wait, I'm just kidding. None of your damn business.
13th of August, 8:26 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Defendant's Antechamber number 3.
Okay, this one's going to be the most challenging one, most interesting case we've ever done. So, here we go.
Here I am again after 9 months. The Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. I feel so nervous, but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself.
Ah, good. You're here. It doesn't do for a lawyer to be late.
Oh, yes, good morning, sir.
I hardly recognize you. You got a fine figure, counsel. But you look as white as a sheet, and those white eyes aren't doing you any favors either.
Oh dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous. I feel utterly nauseated. I almost wish that I'd never been born.
Goodness. Not the sort of thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say.
Yujin Mikotoba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University. A man who early in his life traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science. And of course, my brilliant father.
Excuse me. Would I be correct in thinking that you're to be my lawyer in court today?
Oh, yes, that's right, miss.
Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life, it's a complete fabrication, this whole thing.
Rei Membami, born the same year as I, and my greatest friend. Though unusual for a woman in our time, she works at the university research laboratory, helping my father. And sadly, she's a defendant in today's trial, accused of committing a truly awful murder. Are you feeling all right? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to have become a little flushed.
Oh my, it's just that you look so gallant and dashing.
Sorry?
And when I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful.
Goodness, I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am.
It would seem our little plan for this trial is going to work.
Oh, what do you mean, Professor Mikotoba?
If even your best friend can't see through the disguise, I think we can relax.
Disguise?
Yes, I've never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. But this does make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father.
Father? What? Is that you, Susato?
I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner, Rei. Is this that...
No, what are you doing? What's going on? What? That varsity uniform! That varsity cap! That varsity cape! That varsity badge! Look at you! You look for all the world just like a student of the Imperial Yumei University. A male student.
I'm so glad you think so. It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start.
But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that?
Well, you see...
It was the only way. The only way she would be permitted into the Supreme Court to take on your defense in this trial.
My defense?
Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated at having been born in this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women. We're not even allowed to set foot inside the courtroom.
And why was she in the courtroom for 5 minutes, the first case? Anyway.
Despite the fact that the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female alike.
But women are forbidden.
Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so that I can act as your lawyer.
Oh, Susato, you'd go to such lengths for me?
Of course, you're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve.
Oh no, I have complete faith in you.
Rei?
So strange, though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already. And yet, just because you're a woman, what a wretched reason! I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing.
Rei? Please don't look at me like that with those flushed cheeks and doting eyes.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just, you really do look so dashing.
Yes, you mentioned that once or twice.
You should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man.
See, I told you it was going to be different.
I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. Rei, you're managing to put on a brave face in all this, but I can see through it. I noticed how your shoulders are slumped, and how you're trembling ever so slightly.
Susato, you do believe in me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder?
Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right?
Yes. Yes, it is. Perfectly clean.
I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence, which is why I'll stand by you until the bitter end of this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side. Because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer.
That means so much to me, Susato.
Defendant! Counsel! Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once.
You should go in at once, Rei. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty.
Oh! Stand aside!
I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast.
Well, Susato, you've certainly surprised your father, going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom, and with no prior experience of being a lawyer.
There was simply no other way. That's all there is to it. But Father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Rei doesn't know how it came to this.
Yes, quite right. I've kept that information from her. It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take her case. I didn't want to burden her with that.
And is it true? The reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was?
We should be making a move now, too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I'll do what I can to support my student.
Thank you, Father.
Buckle up, kids.
I'm Susato Mikotoba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain. But 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. How many times have I wished that he were here? I wonder. Excuse me. Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san.
Buckle up, boneheads, because we're going on a ride, baby.
Good news. The check cleared. It's go time.
13th of August, 9 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Courtroom number 1.
I'm going to take a sip right here. We got to hydrate.
Me too.
Yes. As always, feedback is appreciated.
Sure, absolutely. Here we go.
This court is now in session to hear the trial of Rei Membami.
The prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency.
Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency, we are ready.
Ready.
Yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is, Ryotaro Naruhodo. Is that correct?
Sorry.
Oh yes, I had to come up with a suitable male name for you for this little venture. So I'm afraid to say I simply put down the first name that sprung to mind. Well, counsel?
Yes, that's right. That's me. Yes, I am Ryotaro, he who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruhodo clan.
It seems Ryotaro may need to consider how better to uphold this manly act first and not overdo it. And those wild, wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Just relax and listen.
Naruhodo?
A fresh face in this courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruhodo, would that perchance be...
You may be thinking of Ryunosuke Naruhodo, currently in Britain as part of a study program. This is,
His cousin.
That's right. Ryotaro has been studying in the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any of Tokyo's preeminent lawyers.
Any of them.
Tut, tut, tut. What a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has had to call in a country boy.
How dare you! Susato is every bit as gallant and dashing as any of your Tokyo attorneys. I won't have you making fun of her.
Whoa!
Huh?
Careful.
Please be careful, Rei.
What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? His wide, skittish eyes very much suggest that he is not.
I'm so nervous. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, eyes are wont to flit.
The case to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may very well affect the very future of our empire.
Just like the trial 9 months ago. And yet for proceedings of such importance, we have this unknown yokel by the dock? Dear me.
Perhaps this will be an appropriate moment for me to assess the defense, to determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom. 9 months ago, when a certain other Naruhodo stood where you're standing now, this same judge tested him as well. But even though he was just a student at the time, not even of law, he passed the test with flying colors. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions?
All right, it's time to prove myself. Yes, Your Excellency, but please do make them simple.
Very well. To start with, you will state the name of the victim.
It is simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried. Oh,
What's the matter?
now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, minds are want to blank.
It's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position, and in that guise. Even a bright spark like you is bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances.
Oh dear, this is a dismal failure.
Don't fret. You need only use the knowledge you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem.
Huh? Of course, the court record. Yes, the answer will be amongst all the key information about the case in the court record.
That's right. Now you can open the court record. Then you need to flip to the people section, and don't take too long over it. His Excellency is watching you closely.
All right, check the court record with R. That's where the information I need will be.
All right, let's take a look. So here's the postmortem report. Time of death is just after 2 p.m. Death is believed to be due to trauma to the victim's lung from a knife blade. Only a single wound was identified.
Now let's look at the people.
So the people. So here's Eugen. Here's the defendant. Here's the victim. Giselle Brett. What? The victim of the case, who was a former British exchange student. 9 months ago, she was found guilty of the murder of visiting professor Dr. John Wilson. Holy shit.
Wow.
Oh my
Goodness.
Okay.
Oh my good whiskers.
I'm waiting, counsel. What is the name of the victim in this case?
She is Giselle Brett. Unbelievable.
Yes. The name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Miss Giselle Brett.
Giselle Brett.
A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our empire's judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Pratt was a visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Why then is her name indelibly associated with our own empire's judicial history? Obviously, you won't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago. But if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record.
Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Giselle Brett, behind the woman student persona, was the face of...
A killer.
Yes! 9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yumi University was killed, and the culprit was Giselle Brett.
Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain, and it was in the midst of this delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, was shot dead. I believe he was an associate.
I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikotoba. Sorry, did not realize.
We don't know. We could be the judge for all we know.
I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikotoba.
And it could work too, because this could be the judge taking turns here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yes, I was indebted to the man. He'd been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed it was, which is why a secret trial was conducted here at the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Yep, old Runo.
With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense and exposed the despicable crime committed by Miss Giselle Brett.
Man, that case.
Oh boy, what a case that was.
Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion.
Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our empire's laws. It was decided she would be removed to Shanghai, China, instead.
Why Shanghai?
There's a British consular court there. Correct. I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of our transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. All that remained of our empire's obligations was to see the woman safely on board a steamship.
And yet, the very day before her departure, the Englishwoman was killed.
Oh, only the day before?
That will do. I'm satisfied that the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant.
Oh. Thank you, Your Excellency. Over the first hurdle.
Now, a summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Auchi.
Ha! As is your wish, Your Excellency.
Here we go.
The repugnant crime took place on the 11th of August in broad daylight. On the outskirts of the imperial capital, under a bright blue sky, at a secluded bathing spot by the sea, the incident occurred inside a small beach hut erected for bathers to rest or change their clothes. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung, an injury which proved fatal. There were two persons alone together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death: Miss Brett in her bathing attire, and the accused, Rei Membami.
Sorry.
Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we consider she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady.
Well, that extraordinary description of the events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say.
That's certainly true. The prosecution summary was full of words that raise an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about
The bathing spot.
If I may, Prosecutor Auchi.
What do you want, you fresh-faced young yokel student?
I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot.
Ha! My apologies. Clearly, my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. We are told that bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, therapeutic, and excellent for the skin's...
No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intents and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea?
for old time's sake, I believe.
Sorry?
Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at our country's wonderful coast. And the British Embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply.
But on what grounds would we agree to such a request?
Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems they don't even have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal.
Don't look at me, Professor. It was the government who granted permission, not I. In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong.
But in fact, a murder took place.
I said don't look at me. It was a young student girl who did it, not I.
No one has proved that yet.
I wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need to.
At this stage, I need to gather more information, I think. As a lawyer, I really like to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about...
Now, either it's the alone together or powerful. I'm going to go with a powerful motive. Let's just go right to the pink meat here.
You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement.
Tut tut. Is the Yoko boy using long words he doesn't fully understand?
I beg your pardon?
No matter. Let us put this to the accused, shall we? Membami-san, you are a research assistant at the Imperial Yume University, I believe.
Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikotoba in his laboratory at the moment.
I can confirm that. The defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility.
Fascinating to hear. Now, another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikotoba, whose research were you assisting then?
I was studying under John H. Wilson.
What? Dr. Wilson? The visiting English professor who was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago?
Okay, so Kai the Firebird says, wait, if Susato stole Norioto's clothes and is pulling off the look, is Ryunosuke wearing her kimono and pulling off the look? No, sir.
Nope.
It's okay. It's funny you ask, but... Which reminds me, do we have any other... No other...
What about check Twitch? I think it came from...
Well, that's where I found it. It's right here.
Okay.
Derp.
So, okay, let me respond.
Okay, easy does it, kiddo. I'm gonna hydrate.
So, okay.
The accused had a deep-seated respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true?
Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man.
Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the Englishwoman who killed him.
And Minister Finister.
Hey, oh my gosh, we're being raided.
Yes!
Where's that fucking horn when you need it? Anyway, thank you so much for raiding.
You have no idea what that means to us.
Okay.
Tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the English woman who killed him.
Love your voice for Ouchie. It sounded menacing.
Ah.
Well, thank you. You should thank this guy.
Yeah, according to the first episode, I was the one who... Hey, we got a new follower. Thanks, Minister Finisher, for following the stream.
Hey, you're awesome, dude. So, okay.
All right, let's go.
Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she'd done. A powerful hatred.
Oh, no! Ray! Be careful of what you're saying!
The motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency.
Well, it was clearly a trap all along.
How wicked of him to use Ray's undying respect for her former mentor against her like that. Let's find out more details and something we can use to bolster our defense.
Something tells me I should have chose option 2 second, but whatever.
As a lawyer, Now I need to pick up the prosecution on what he said about being alone together.
Yes, that's the last one. So,
Membami-san?
Yes. What is it, Naruhodo-san?
I'm really starting to wish we'd made my alias Ryotaro Susato. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place.
okay, we might have to take a pause here. Oh, Alex. Whoa, damn, son. Sorry about that interruption. Let's go back live. Let's go, go, go. So, yep, we had an unexpected phone call. That's what happens when you're in IT.
Yep. Anyways, please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place, and why you were alone with her.
Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present. A detective was guarding Miss Brett, for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all.
But let us be clear. At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut. You and no one else. The truth is, there is only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life.
No!
Because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. And the accused would never have an opportunity to dispatch her again.
No, what the hell? Oh, no.
Kindly refrain from conjecture, counsel.
I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Miss Brett managed to avoid incarceration, instead continuing her research work at the university. Obviously, over that period, she and Rei would have encountered each other on a number of occasions.
Seeing the murder of the mentor from which she had such great respect enjoying such undeserved liberty.
Yes, even if it was only temporary until Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai. You can hardly blame Rei for her feelings of anger and resentment.
Poor Rei.
So, Your Excellency, if you'd be so kind as to peruse this exhibit, a photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident.
I think the word's perused, but yeah, that's fine.
No, perused, I think.
Yes, thank you, counsel. A tragic image.
As you can clearly see, there is nowhere within the hut that anyone else could have hidden.
Hold that thought for a second. 6 minutes ago, it looks like British CG has followed their stream as well.
Hey, thanks, man.
The court will accept this photographic print as evidence.
I think they snuck in the back door with Minister Finister.
Yeah, I think they did. Photograph of the crime scene has been entered into the court record.
A photographic print of the scene taken by police just after incident occurred. The stab wound in the victim's back is clearly visible. Yikes.
As I understand it then, the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time. This is deeply troubling, I must say. The figure of guilt points firmly at the defendant.
Well, Your Excellency, naturally the prosecution has much more to its case. We intend to prove the accused's appalling actions beyond all possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence.
Witnesses? But who?
One of whom, I might add, is a highly respected police detective. I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt.
Very well then, counsel. Bring forth your witnesses.
I, Takatsuchi Ouchi, have been waiting for this moment.
Sorry?
Oh, yes, I haven't forgotten that trial 9 months ago, here in this very courthouse, when that irreverent little student boy utterly humiliated me. Nah! Ryunosuke Naruhodo! What, yes? This insult to the Ouchi family name will never be forgotten!
You've become conceited with age, counsel, but the old had to stand aside and make way for the new.
Remix.
It's the way of the world. May you never forget that.
Ah! My hair! Strike the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut, and the bell of cultural enlightenment tolls. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died.
The start of your own mini-major revolution. Are you modernizing as well, counsel?
Silence! Since I swore revenge back then, there has been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the ouchie growth. What the fuck? You see? You see the seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown?
I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something.
If it's trying to speak, we're on mushrooms.
I'm afraid I can't really see. Where is the hope exactly?
I said silence! Today, I face another yokel student of the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you. And my victory will be fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned. With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand.
It looks like the stakes are high on both sides in this trial. The prosecution and defense each has much to lose.
A haircut is hardly comparable to Rei's life.
Yeah, exactly.
Good lord.
Oh, look at these bozos.
I especially remember that second one.
Okay. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court.
Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected.
And I am, well, the next big thing in books. An author renowned throughout the capital, in fact. Yes. Soon to be sold out. The surgical I Am a Cat, a sensational success by Susato Natsume.
I'm gonna write that down.
What the? Who's this?
Who was that?
Oh my goodness! Struggling student from the provinces, please. You needn't be in awe of me.
I needn't?
It's only natural that you feel nervous in my presence. But all of you, please relax. Call me Sasaki even. Yes. What on earth is Sasaki-san doing here?
What indeed?
Tread carefully, Susato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? If he exposes you for who you really are, this will be over before it's begun.
Yes, of course, I know.
Maybe you need to do some exercises.
I presume Sasaki-san won't have forgotten about me. I could certainly never forget him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the 6 months or so that it's been nice since I last saw him. And as for Inspector Hasanaga, that amazing outfit is hard to believe.
Do I have something on my face?
Well, your glasses for one, although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either.
I suppose it's this disguise, is it? I thought that the pairing hair and the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for more faithful testimony. It is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly.
Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been puzzled. But what business did a whiter such as yourself have being at the scene, Sasaki-san?
Well, you see, I had been asked that day to give a lecture on the morning of the incident in the Imperial Yamei University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less. At Yamei University? After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. The professor over there, in fact. With Professor Mikotoba?
Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story or other about 2 former students who studied in Great Britain.
Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leaves me alone. They secretly spy, snapshots, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy.
Oh, I'm gonna write that one down. That's a good one.
Oh boy. As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read it at your leisure, my provincial struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies. Thank you very much. He practically threw that paper at me.
Susato Natsume article has been entered into the court
A
record.
newspaper containing an article about a discussion between Susato and Professor Mikotoba and Sasaki-san. The debate became quite spirited. Anyway, following my interview with the professor, the lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words.
As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory, under strict surveillance, of course.
At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance. And the response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as a detective accompanies her.
That detective I am at liberty to divulge was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Hasanaga.
Thereby, the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seems.
It was extremely challenging to clear all other members of the public from the vicinity of the beach.
But fortunately, I am at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly.
Oh my, Inspector, you do have something on your face now.
How unsightly. I do apologize.
Does that mean you went to the beach too?
Does that mean you went to the beach too, Father?
No. Fortunately, I had work to finish off.
Finish off. Phrasing.
But unfortunately, of course, it meant that, as my assistant, Rei was invited to take my place.
Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. But if only I had! I never had seen that awful sight! Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret!
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm gonna write that down.
Very well. I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all that you witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast.
Of course, Your Excellency.
Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret, I am.
All right, let's see.
Witness testimony. The witness scene.
On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise.
I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me.
Okay.
I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question.
Yes, yes, yes! The young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, and she stabbed wildly!
I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times.
Nope. Not really.
Nope.
Indeed, it does appear from this testimony that both witnesses here present saw it. The very moment of this heinous crime.
What?
Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Ah, yes. That was it. Damning evidence.
What have you there, counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it?
Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene whilst examining the body. It appears that in her dying moments, with her final ounce of strength, the victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer.
What?
Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over the photographic print of the crime scene once more.
Goodness me! Huh? Yes, the victim is clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand.
That's right, the fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency.
The owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R.M. Rei Membami. The initials of the defendant.
No!
This fountain pen will be admitted immediately as critical evidence.
Fountain pen has been entered in the court record.
The pen that the victim was found grasping in her hand, it carries the initials RM.
So, have I omitted anything? Decisive testimony and damning evidence. Ha! There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel.
I don't understand. The prosecutor outed you of 9 months ago had none of this man's poise.
Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now. Naruhodo-san!
Naruhodo. That means... Oh, yes, me.
Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom?
Actually, there isn't even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom.
Kazuya Taro, pull yourself together, please.
All right. I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant. Find inconsistencies in the witnesses' testimonies to prove that they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. So let's see what I can do.
All right, here we go. So I know exactly where to go, so I'm just going there.
Yep. Witness scene.
On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise.
I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me.
I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question.
Yes, yes, yes! That young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, and she stabbed wildly.
I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times.
According to the post-mortem report, only a single wound was identified. So,
Objection!
Objection! With that accusatory cry that just welled up from deep inside me, I think I finally understand. Every time Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed.
What's the meaning of that menacing pose, counsel?
I'd like the witness to clarify something for me. Who? What? Where? When? How?
Okay, well, I don't know about that, but I'll write that down anyway.
Not you, Sasaki-san. This query is directed at Inspector Hasanaga.
At me.
In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times.
Yes, that's right. As I said, when I entered the hut, the defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon.
And yet, that cannot be.
What?
Get to the point, please, counsel.
In the post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed one time only. In other words, Inspector Hasanaga's testimony is clearly flawed. And Sasaki-san, me? You claim to have seen Membami-san in the throes of stabbing the victim. Yes, I did. Wildly. But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point, that there was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding.
Yes, and?
It's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once. Therefore, there is no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred. True!
Then what exactly is your contention, counsel? Are you ever going to tell us?
Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. What Sasaki-san in fact saw was not the moment that the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body. That can't be!
Excellent work, Susato. You exploded at them with that objection and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically.
Objection! Well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin once staged a scene much like this in that trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection attempting to steal the show.
You're right. There were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, who only has half a head of hair.
Slander! My head is quite adequately dressed. In any case, all this talk of stabbing and withdrawing and multiple wounds, it makes not a jot of difference.
What? Why not?
Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was that moment, just as she had withdrawn the blade, ready for her next strike, that the witnesses saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because the accused had already stabbed the victim. All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustached author is prone to moments of extravagance.
Oh no.
I am in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, that is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion.
But if she was withdrawing the blade...
Then we are back where we started.
Sorry?
Consider this, young yokel boy. If the student girl is as innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim? And with a demon's cold-blooded composure, too. The prosecution demands an explanation, and it had better be good.
Why did Rei pull out the knife?
Yes. Going for the jugular.
What does father mean by that?
the court hear your answer then, counsel?
The truth is, I don't really know, but I have to come up with a plausible reason here, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could
Save her life. Yep, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I wanted to be.
According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant.
That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury. Indeed, giving her time to take hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates her killer.
The point is, being a medical research assistant, Membami-san was compelled to act when faced with a wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life.
Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we can expect of this young yokel.
Indeed.
Is it just me? Or does it suddenly feel much colder in here?
Nah, dog. They just turned the thermostat down.
Yeah. Your Excellency, if I may.
Speak, witness.
I would like another opportunity to testify in respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward by the yokel defense counsel, I mean.
Slipshod?
An excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel hopeful has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense.
Very well, Inspector. I will permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense counsel's assertion.
Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly.
All right, here we go.
I'm hoping that by taking my voice head away from the mic, that it might actually make it more crisp than the flipping is off.
Forensic medicine primer.
Holding a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor.
True, but that's not... Is what you just said true, Inspector? Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily?
Hell yeah, it could.
Yes, think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed.
Oh, I see.
Ha! This is why yokels should stay on the farm. Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it.
Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled the blade out of a wound, so...
Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit.
Father, is it true, what they're telling me?
Yes, it's basic remedial knowledge from medics. Rei would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways.
But then, why would Rei have done it? Could she have pulled out that knife with full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett?
I don't know.
Rei never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but could my friend actually have?
Susato,
Yes?
pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here.
Ah!
Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination.
Oh, yes, Your Excellency.
However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any issue with the established facts, I will be moving to my adjudication immediately afterwards.
I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard.
Yeah, you realize that the lesson's going to be like, hey, you had that moment of doubt. Well, hang on, kids. It's going to turn hard pretty soon here.
Cross-examination time.
Let's go.
Forensic medicine primer.
Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know.
I'm going to go ahead and activate story mode here.
Basic knowledge any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor.
Well, let's take a look at some stuff here. While we're at it, let's take a look at some evidence. Look at this.
Let's see. I don't see.
Okay, I don't know where the okay. Well, there's Wagahai.
Yeah.
No, that must have been that was with different cat, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so there's that. So, all right, nothing seems to be out of ordinary here. Well, let's take a look at this pen. I can't look at it right now. God damn it! All right.
Well, go back out to story mode again. This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in his testimony anywhere. If Rei knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further, I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it.
Susato, it's at times like these when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals.
The fundamentals?
Evidence is what counts in a courtroom, isn't it?
Of course, but I've been through the court record dozens of times already.
I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though.
Aha!
You didn't take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail, too.
Ah!
I realize this is your first time playing the role of lawyer in a courtroom, so if you need reminding of the rudiments, you need only ask. I'll do my very best to help.
Examine the evidence in the court record? It's an idea, certainly. What should I do?
I know what to do.
Come to think of it, Kasumi-sama and Naruhodo-san were always turning evidence over and over in their hands. Yes, I need to examine things in greater detail with the A button.
By the look in your eyes, I see it's coming back to you. Go through the court record again and have a thorough look at everything. You may just find a clue.
Yes, I'll do so straight away. I'll do it straight away.
Okay, so then let's take a look, because we can examine this.
Giselle Brett, female British, time of death 11th August around 2 p.m. Ascertained by examination of witness statements.
Cause of death: single deep stab wound from behind, piercing a lung and resulting in a fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. Notes: extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim in both eyes.
Very interesting indeed.
So that's one part.
What about this?
See if I can. Okay, well, look at this.
Look at the back. Raucous England attorneys tell all. This is the interview with you and Saseki-san. Is it, father? It looks as though it was quite an exchange.
Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photographer managed to capture the moment his hand karate chopped me on the neck.
I do hope you weren't hurt. Let's look at the back then.
Uh-oh, what's this?
What's this say? This is the newspaper from Saseki-san. There seems to be an important article on the back page as well. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yumei Medical Research Laboratory. From Yumei's Medical Research. Father, isn't that your lab?
What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen?
It's this morning's paper that Saseki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know?
As embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I've not heard any such thing. Where on earth could a reporter have gleaned his information?
Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning this story in our paper this morning, was there?
It's a highly toxic poison we've been working on in the strictest confidence. I put Rei in charge of the project.
Rei? She was managing it?
If what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the theft from me. And moreover, the details were leaked somehow.
I don't believe it.
We need to read this article very carefully.
The article
about the poison has been entered into the court record.
An article about poison that was stolen from a laboratory at Yume University. Even this Professor Mikotoba, who is responsible for the lab, knew nothing of the incident.
So then we got this. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory.
Following a lecture at Yume by Saseki Natsume on 11th August, it's come to light that a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science laboratory was stolen. Even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes.
Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. The university would have to be consulted.
One onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. It's apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids and rumored to have been commissioned by the military.
Well, we have our answer now, but let's take a look at this.
The RM initials are very clearly engraved here.
And the fact that Miss Brett was clinging to this pen in her dying moments is very clearly a message too.
To identify her killer, you mean?
I don't think there can be any doubt that this is a key piece of evidence in this case.
Look at the back of it. If we take off the pen's lid...
Yeah, let's see this.
Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we?
Look at this. What the?
This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink.
Yes, you fill it by drawing ink from a bottle up through the nib.
Is something wrong, Father?
Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all.
Oh yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose.
Details of fountain pen have been updated in court record.
Fountain pen bearing initials RM that is a small reservoir inside into which ink can be drawn. There's a very small amount of liquid still inside.
Okay.
Now look at the back. Or what's this?
Yeah, look at this.
There's some sort of emblem here. Look, but isn't it a Yume University one?
No, it
But it isn't a Yume University one.
It must belong to some other organization, I suppose. A business of some kind. But that would seem to imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Rei.
Aha!
There's still...
So there we go. So we may yet be able to clear Rei. So first things first. So okay, that's basic knowledge. In other words, there's no good reason. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Yes, there was. All together now, bitches.
Objection! No, there is one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound.
What? Ha! The yokel not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser. Tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified?
It's here, in this newspaper article. An article about a deadly poison having been stolen from a laboratory at the Imperial Yume unit.
Objection! The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in this case.
But
Prosecutor Auchi, you will let the defense speak.
But a newspaper article? The court cannot rely on the kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry.
Counsel for the defense, I am going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will indicate to the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion.
Your Excellency!
yes, of course. Thank you. Rei would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article where it says...
Deadly in tiny quantities. I think so. Here. I was right.
Yeah. The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on the knife laced with the poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes.
Are
Are you suggesting?
If the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Membami-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body.
What? Objection! This is complete and utter nonsense!
Not at all! The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility.
Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document.
Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking a hold.
Objection! Oh, please. This is clearly desperation. The weasel's last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case. I believe the defense is well aware.
As I believe. Okay, well.
God damn it. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is at all reliable anyway. In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense. Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it? Yokel?
Why did Rei suspect the stolen poison was involved? If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds.
What? You can't possibly.
From your expression, counsel, it would appear those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence.
Yes, Your Excellency. I'm well aware of that. I've seen it many times. From my place at his side in the Old Bailey.
In that case, counsel, you will present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article?
Take that! I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the postmortem report, which reads, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim. Clearly, being a yokel with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please do tell me. Presumably, the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the post-mortem report means that it's an unusual symptom of death?
Well, under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual. Yes. What are you doing, you yokel detective?
In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death.
What?
If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely...
Yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt.
Prosecutor Ouchie, I think you'll agree, this is very compelling evidence.
You, yokel student and yokel professor!
I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions.
No.
Yuji Mikotoba. Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. It pains me to have to admit it, but I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft.
Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft are unfounded?
No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say.
Ha! Listen to the bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft of secret state research from his own workplace until he reads of it in the newspaper.
I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision.
Father! A pitiful situation for a university professor. You should have more control. You should have more control over your students rather than allowing them off on killing sprees.
That's totally unfounded.
Hold it.
Wait a minute.
Hold it! None of this is Professor Mikotoba's fault. It's all my fault.
Rei Membami-san, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated.
But it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day.
What?
So you knew?
I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day that the professor and Saseki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was.
Why didn't you let me know immediately?
I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxins had somehow been taken. So, I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very good idea who the thief was.
The thief? You don't mean...
Yes, of course. It was that dainty English woman.
Mr. Zilbert?
That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then, she suddenly got to her feet before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then, a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they'd shrunk to tiny pinpoints.
I don't believe it.
In other words, you realized that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison.
My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips whilst I'd been with her, which left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body.
On the blade of the knife in her back.
And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade.
Yes. If the amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might still have a chance. That's what I hoped. Really, I'm sorry for staying silent all this time.
Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I have duly noted the courage with which you confessed in the end.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here, in this courtroom now.
Objection! Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Membami-san, if that is the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed.
Well,
You have no answer, because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
Objection!
Objection! But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you?
Oh, I have evidence, and it is very much conclusive.
Huh? What's the prosecution counsel up to?
Strap in, kids.
It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it.
You will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Prosecutor Auchi.
Perhaps some praise is due, young yokel student.
What?
I had imagined there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. But you've brought this on yourself.
What the? Could a more
damning shot exist? The cruelty in the air on that beach is almost palpable. This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature, for it shows the precise moment that Membami-san plunged her dagger into the victim's back.
No, that's not true. No.
I don't believe it. Ah!
Oh no! Wait, what? Huh? What?
Order! Counsel for the defense. Was it you who was responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom?
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs.
Perhaps his voice has yet to break. These yokels are slow of mind and slow to mature.
I'll show you who's slow to mature.
Careful now. Susato is starting to show her face here. It is often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The court will accept this extremely cogent photographic print as evidence.
The incriminating photograph has been entered into the court record.
Photographic print taken at the moment the victim was attacked. Her friend Ray can be seen kneeling over Miss Brett.
Well, she was pulling the knife out, dog.
I can't believe he's had a photograph like that up his sleeve the entire time. It's such a stark image, I'm genuinely lost for words.
Wait a minute. I don't understand. How did you... who took that photograph?
Ray.
Objection! That is of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention.
Oh!
Objection! That's an absurd thing to say. It's crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death.
Yep, there you go.
The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony.
Nah!
I will uphold the defense's demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once.
Well, I'm afraid I can't do that.
Pardon?
You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express post yesterday. But there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown.
Goodness!
Are we to understand then, counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believe it fit for submission as evidence in the Supreme Court?
When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment, because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you?
Silence, you Yoko student and blabbering professor! Well, what matters is the blatant truth that this print so eloquently expresses.
But the defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly, this isn't the moment that the knife was plunged into the victim's back, but...
The moment it was withdrawn? Don't waste this court's time with your ramblings.
Indeed. Without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. And the scene it captures is without doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on this matter, I believe the conclusion is clear.
We can get there.
Oh no!
Susato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, then there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Rei withdrew the blade from the victim.
Yes, we just need to prove that somehow.
You'll have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came up against Takasuchi Ouchi in a court of law.
If I can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial is going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it.
Well, counsel?
Your Excellency, the burning question is who took that photograph, and the truth is...
I have the answer.
This isn't about whether I can or can't come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal.
What? No, you can't possibly. But as you so boldly claim that you can, please do enlighten us.
Unfortunately, I am unable to present a name.
How utterly underwhelming. Did you really believe that you could...
However, I am able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity.
What?
Very well then, counsel. Present your proof to the court. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mystery photographer?
The Saseki article. Hit it, boys.
Take that!
What is that? The newspaper again? Ruckus England attorneys tell all.
It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side.
Ah, yes indeed. They had already caught my eye as it happens.
Ha! What of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably, from the branches of a tree or the like.
There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you.
Now, if you look closely at this photograph...
Good gracious!
Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is present on this photograph too.
Objection! Well, that tells us nothing. Ha! Yes, the shadow of some kind, definitely, from the branches of a tree.
There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach, counsel.
What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired?
The curious matching pattern that appears on both photographic prints is a result of...
a camera defect.
Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs.
With the photographic device?
Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched, and that the scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device.
In short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera.
But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It would be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one.
Objection!
Objection! I think you're forgetting, Professor Ouchie, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article.
A newspaper? Ah!
That's right. The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime.
What?
That was bad. Anyway. Many memo!
Memo! I think he revealed it.
Yep.
I see why you were called the Raucous England Returnee.
What are you yelling about? You've already testified.
It's Mini Memo. I tell you, Mini Memo. Memo. Sasaki-san, what was that? Did you say Mini Memo? Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shoyo News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Reitan Minimemo. Yes, hounding me from dawn till dusk.
Take a look at those letters.
Yeah.
R M.
Ah, now that he mentions it. They secretly spy, snapshots, scribble stories, and scope on my privacy.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna write that down.
Could that same reporter be... A camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Reitan Minimemo.
So you're saying that this picture was taken by...
By Minimemo, yes! My lord, your excellency, Esquire.
Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime.
Oh, yes, your excellency.
As you say, your excellency.
And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. You will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood?
Meh. Many memo.
That was bad. Anyway, so yeah, we're only an hour. We got 20 minutes left, but you know,
I think we may
we might end up being able to knock this entire case out. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. To be continued.
To be continued.
Even if it takes us another hour and a half.
Save it.
All right. So the adventure of the Blossoming Attorney. Let's continue.
Let us continue.
Back to the antechamber.
13th of August, 10:41 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Defendants into Chamber 3. Whew. Say that 3 times fast.
Uh-oh. Hold on. You're getting a call.
Okay. Well, folks, you know what? Package, take this on.
Right. Hello. Pretty good. How you doing?
We'll be right back after this brief pause. Oh, shit, son. We're real sorry about that. Now we're coming back to you live in 3, 2, 1. So last we left our intrepid heroes, they were in the defendant's antechamber, and having gotten past the first part of the trial, they have identified a person that is deeply connected to the case. Stay tuned.
I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin.
Rei.
You have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone.
No, that's not it at all. I was scared of my... I was scared of my failure coming to light, that's all. So I hope to retrieve the substance from the English woman before anyone found out. Before the trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? That you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence? That you'd stand by me to the last?
I remember.
And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato! I deserve it! No, in fact, throw me to the floor! No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me through the city streets!
I'm no better, you know.
Oh!
Even though in my heart I knew that you pulled the knife blade from Miss Brett's back, there was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you.
Susato!
I'm sorry. After I stood here and promised you that I'd stand by you and always be on your side, I betrayed your faith in me too. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer.
Oh, no.
I think this situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task.
Yes, Father. That fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now. So, Rei?
Especially since the rain is gone.
Rei?
Yes?
Can you find it in your heart to forgive me?
Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now.
Oh, Rei.
Oh, boy.
I was so scared, you know. When it happened, I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet before collapsing on the floor in front of me with a knife in her back. It all happened right before my eyes.
And you were the only people in the hut at the time?
That's right. Just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else. I just don't understand how she could possibly have been stabbed like that.
A great mystery indeed.
I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up.
You'll be alright. However it happened, and whatever really went on by the sea that day, I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you've said you saw is true.
Spoken like a true Mikotoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order.
Yes, I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. The police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now.
The trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing for it.
Oh, I see.
Yes, without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the toxin.
Chemical reagent?
I sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case.
Chemical reagent has been entered into the court record.
Special indicator solution for a new poison under development by Professor Mikotoba's team. It's created in strict secrecy and exists only in Mikotoba's lab.
What's the matter, Susato? You're suddenly very quiet.
It's this newspaper article. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret.
It was all the English woman's doing.
What?
It was when the professor and Saseki-san were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swanned in and without any compunction said to Professor Mikotoba, "Oh, Professor, surely your guests would love to hear about your work on that substance there."
It put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Saseki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction.
So then, Saseki-san knew about the poison.
Yes, and it's highly likely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin, too.
This Minamemo-san. By the way, did that reporter join you all when you went to the beach?
Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there.
Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there.
Oh?
No criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. Saseki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office.
Yet he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photograph. And then presumably he posted anonymously to the police.
Ah!
Yes, that must be what happened.
Counsel, we've just heard that the new witness is now ready to testify. The trial is about to resume. Please proceed into the courtroom at once.
It's time to steel ourselves once again, then. Defense attorney Ryotaro Naruhodo.
Yes. Rei has put her faith in me now and told me everything. So I can't let her down. I have to prove that what she's telling the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day.
Well, lock him and load him, ladies. It's go time.
13th of August, 11:30 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Courtroom number 1.
Oh, no.
I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Rei Membami. Prosecutor Auchi, have you summoned the new witness?
Before I address that question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share.
Oh?
What news? And why does he look so happy about it?
During the recess, with the collaboration of Professor Mikotoba's laboratory at Yume University, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Giselle Brett's life.
Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter.
Oh, too kind, Your Excellency. Too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course.
I had the reagent delivered to police headquarters by rickshaw, so it would be there in good time. But judging by the man's swagger, I fear we might need to brace ourselves for the inevitable.
And counsel, what were the results?
This dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade.
What? Are you sure about that?
I would stake the reputation of the police on it.
Armed with the reagent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake.
Murder weapon has been entered into the court record.
No trace of poison found on the blade.
Well, check it out, though. The pupils were still constricted.
Yeah?
So, Rei still had a great reason to pull the blade out.
Right.
In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed.
Oh no! What the hell?
What?
Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness.
The newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good. Very well. Officer, bring in the witness.
Here we go.
No trace of poison on the knife. But if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body?
Oh, we'll find out. It's just going to take a minute. All right, let's see. There we go. What's it?
Witness, please. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court.
Oh. Rei Membami, show you news. I'm what people like to call a journo.
What's a journal?
What's a journal, Father? Do you know?
It's simply a contraction of journalist.
I'm where the news breaks, putting pen to paper to catch those scoops right there and print the next. I'm going to try this again. I'm there where the news breaks, putting pen to paper to catch those scoops so they're in print the next morning. They don't call me the hero of the Herald for nothing, the nice guy of news.
Oh, so, it was you who took this photograph, was it?
Well, what have we here?
I'm sorry?
Oh, brace yourselves, people. Membami sent us a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. Oh, okay. Readers will lap this up. We'll set it above the fold at 72 point in a 5-leg format of the morning edition.
Huh?
Right then. Let's start with your name.
Oh, it's Ryotaro Naruhodo.
Next, what made you want to become a lawyer?
I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose.
Ryotaro has suddenly become very ambitious, I see.
Just borrowed Kazuma-sama's dream for a while.
By the way, my name is Takasuchi Auchi. That's Takatsuchi Auchi. The so-called dark horse of the Supreme Court. My objections strike fear into every defense lawyer's heart.
No, readers won't buy that.
What?
What's this?
Yes?
What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for the taking of this picture. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday.
Yeah? I wouldn't be a journal if it didn't click quick when presented with a scoop like that now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me. Sometimes I have to chase them down. But either way, you've got to be fast. Fast legs to run with and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say. That's what I call my many-memoism.
Mini-memoism?
Ah, yes, I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing myself and Sasaki-san.
Yes, right. That was me. Memo again.
But you were supposed to be going back to the Shoyu news offices after our meeting.
But the scoop is, I didn't. Because that Englishwoman's words piqued my journalistic interest. Piqued. I think that's how you pronounce it. We'll have to consult the dictionary.
Miss Brett's words?
A criminal, left to do as she pleases, just because she happens to be a British citizen? Huh, it's horse dung. This country's judiciary is rotten to the core. The Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. The police are just imperial pawns.
Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play.
Huh. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my memo pad. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's all here. Right, here goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Serious criminal going on some junket? The people need to know about this. That's why I decided to sneak after them.
to get the woman's story so I could hammer her in the press.
Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand? The crime scene portrayed in this photograph?
Oh yes, I saw it with my very own journal eyes. From start to finish, through the viewfinder of my trusty camera.
Thank you, Mini Memo-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is that you witnessed of the events surrounding Miss Bright's death.
Well,
Oh, this crazy bastard.
let's pick him apart, shall we?
Yep.
Witness testimony. The camera never lies.
The beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there are plenty of gaps I could see inside through. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor. She stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journal spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera ready to click. Pulled apart the rough weave of one of those screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. So that at least we know how the picture was taken.
Read screens, you say?
Right. You can see them clearly enough for that great shot I snapped. The hut walls were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds.
Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief from the summer heat.
And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up.
Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut?
Oh yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish.
And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens?
Luckily for me, they were pretty Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it, or would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime. A tenacity of purpose that's considered admirable in a journalist, I suppose. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's many memoism in a nutshell.
At last, it would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict.
No! Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful.
Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that this testimony begs one very large question.
What question?
Exclusive news, a startling photograph, all the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published?
Oh, that's right.
It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood.
Ha! More pathetic excuses.
Very well then, counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest. Well, I think we're ready to pick this bastard apart. What do you say?
Let's grill him like a hamburger.
Camera never lies.
The beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there are plenty of gaps I could see inside through.
Hold it! Hold it! What made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place?
Call it journal instinct. Can you think of a better reason?
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because, as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman.
Ha! I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. He's painting the journal as a voyeur.
It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera and you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge.
Ha! Nope. You've got it all wrong, little student boy.
Sorry?
To my mind, all that was inside the hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. Scoops know no gender. Man or woman, it's all news. That's not even many memoism. It's basic journalism.
If only the court was this indiscriminate.
Right. So if that's all buttoned up, can we move on?
Tell the court then, witness, what sight befell your eyes when you looked inside the hut?
A sight that vindicated my journal instinct, that's what. When I pulled back the reeds, I could see it all as clear as day.
The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her.
Hold it! So you actually saw Membami-san entering the hut?
Yep, and she was raging like my journal spirit. Oh boy, phrasing.
And the argument you mentioned was what was that about exactly?
You stole it. I didn't steal it. That kind of thing.
Talking about the poison, I suppose.
The student girl walked right up to the Englishwoman and really started laying into her. I mean, if she'd laid into her anymore, there would have been eggs. Jesus Christ.
The man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism.
But the student's rantings fell on deaf ears, like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time.
He really ought to work on his smiles first, though, to be honest.
Similes.
Similes. Thanks.
Anyway, point is, that woman in the dock was mighty angry.
Mightily angry.
I know. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me. Which was the climactic moment that I caught on film. Hey, check it out.
What? Hey,
Look at this guy.
That band.
That band. Can we take a quick look? Can we take a quick look at something?
Yeah. Go to the back. Go.
Look at this.
Well, we know for certain that this emblem isn't that of Yume University.
The police really ought to have spotted that.
They were obviously convinced of Rei's guilt from the outset.
And it looks exactly like this. So, keep that in mind, kids.
Yes.
Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back.
Hold it! Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment when the stabbing took place?
Ha! The precise moment? I didn't see just that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out from start to finish. I have here a simple plan of the beach hut.
Ooh.
Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed. Right you are. It's all here in my mini memo pad. Bastard. When I first peered into the hut, I'm sure that the Englishwoman was on this stool at the back of the hut here. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that.
She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I have noted down.
It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt. Then, the next moment, as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, a pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way, and in a flash, plunged the knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other.
What you describe is a grim crime indeed.
Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what mini memoism says. Beach hut plan has been entered into the court record.
By the way, Mini Memo-san, whilst you were watching that terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy rather than capture it on film?
Journalists have to be observers. Can't get involved. That's our raison d'etre.
Detail.
I don't know idea how to pronounce that.
So you didn't converse with Miss Bird at all?
Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in.
And that's something to be proud of? Not something to be proud of, is it?
Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor. I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony.
Father, what are you...
I will grant the defense's request. Mini Memo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement.
Well, nihilism is the foundation of many memoism, but I'll gladly prove that my words aren't meaningless. I never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was only there as an observer.
Oh, yeah?
I know he's lying. I know he's lying. I'm gonna press him.
Really? You didn't set foot inside the hut at all? Are you quite sure about that?
I think you may have the wrong impression of me. We're talking about a murder scene here. My nerves were stretched to breaking point already.
Oh, I see. You were scared. Maybe I did have the wrong impression of you, yes?
It's all I could do to stifle a scream and hold my hand steady enough to snap the shot.
You really should have summoned help before thinking of your camera.
Many memoism and humanism don't always agree. And most of the time in those instances, many memoism comes out on top. As a sculptor of stories, sometimes I have to be cool for my art. Yes, that's spot on.
Surely he's making all this up.
He claims to have spied the whole affair from start to finish. If true, his testimony is devastating.
But it does seem as though he's holding something back, doesn't it?
If that's how you feel, I suggest that you trust your instincts and press him on everything he said. As you've no doubt seen done many times before in your role as judicial assistant.
Yes, I have. I've seen witnesses like this pressed often. I know exactly what to do.
So I already got that. Englishman was sitting on a stool. Seconds later, pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman. Smoldering German spirit burst into flames. As a flash, I whipped out my camera, ready to click. Pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. Never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was there only as an observer.
Oh, yeah? Objection! Mini-Mammal-san, until now, I've had a firm belief that newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth.
You're spot on there. The press doesn't lie. Which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the show you news on my arm. In a way, that's more mini-memoism.
Sadly, though, it seems the journalists who write for those papers don't always share the same passion for the truth.
What are you suggesting with those recriminatory words, counsel?
Mini-Mammal-san, do you recognize this fountain pen?
Ah!
This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died.
What are you?
If you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved there. RM.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, counsel. The initials of the accused, Rei Membami.
Is it a coincidence, I wonder, that your initials are also RM?
No.
Ray 10, Mini-Memo, RM.
That's horse dung. Can't you see? One of the central tenets of mini-memoism is being a pencil user.
And yet, as the court will clearly be able to see, on your right hand, there is a very obvious blue ink stain.
It would appear that you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is.
Horsey horse dung.
Mini-Memo-san, is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hut?
Objection! Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse.
Exactly. Show you use will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM as there are stars in the night sky.
The defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky.
Huh?
And there's no need anyway, because this pen has more to tell. Yes, there is another clue. A clue that undeniably proves who its owner really is.
And in that case, counsel, the defense will now show the court where this alleged clue lies.
Of course, Your Excellency.
You know where it is.
The clue in this fountain pen that clearly reveals its owner's identity is... Bing. Got it! As well as the initials, there is also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will of course recognize, Mini-Memo-san.
Goodness me! It's the emblem of the Soyo Nose!
In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Shoyu News whose initials are RM. Suddenly, the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Mini Memo-san, how do you respond?
No!
Order! Order! Explain yourself, witness!
So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets?
I've used nothing but honest tactics.
Huh. All right then. Fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not too long before that grim tragedy unfolded, I, a Shoyu News reporter, on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman.
An interview?
You never mentioned this before.
When exactly was this?
As I said, it was before that evil little student girl showed her face in the hut. Couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes, that's all. It's just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing. As we men and as we many memoists say, the people don't pay their dues for unworthy news. Jesus.
However insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired.
Got it. Yes. All right. But on one condition. The condition? In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Soseki Natsume-san.
Soseki-san?
Oh, yes. According to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own. And brace yourselves, because it's not a harmless one. It's big.
What?
What the hell is it? Many memoism states that one man's secret is every other man's front page story.
Very well. I will grant the witness's request in this instance. Officer, summon the earlier witness back to the stand.
Soseki-san, hiding something?
Oh man, I'll tell you what. This guy's a prick. This guy, I mean.
Mini Memo's a prick.
Yep.
The witness's secrets.
I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined. So I left the hut without making a fuss. That's a lie. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses come running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question. But he didn't say anything about that in his testimony, which is why many memoism demands I reveal it now.
You mean to say the victim?
The victim regained consciousness? And when she did, you decided to ask her a question?
That's, true. Yes.
He did. And that's not all. The woman gave him a very definitive answer. An answer that incriminates the accused.
See about that.
This is preposterous. Why am I only hearing about this now? Why didn't you mention this before, you yokel hack?
It wasn't even a conversation! Yes, I did pose the withering English rose a question. I don't deny it. But she could no longer speak. She was barely conscious even.
Counsel for the defense. I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. This court must and will know the truth.
Absolutely, Your Excellency. The reporter is claiming that Miss Brett implicated Rei somehow. What on earth could have happened in that hut? Watch closely, folks.
No witnesses' secrets. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined. So I left the hut without making a fuss. Okay, let's fetch help.
Hold
let's get more details on that question.
Hold it. What question? What exactly did he say?
Well, now, you should hear that from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Rider Man?
Ah! Out with it, you yokel hack! What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman?
Well, in truth, I've been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see.
Well, the seaside is a place to be at leisure, I suppose, even for a grown man.
But then all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, a young girl's panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air. Ray! I ran off the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hasanaga saw Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan. A moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin! But what did you ask her, Saseki-san? I asked her, who did this to you?
Oh! Ha! Don't protract this any longer. How did the woman respond?
She didn't! She said nothing in response! But...
When in the stand, you will answer the questions asked of you unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony.
I will! I asked her who did this to you, but she never replied.
Hold it!
Hold it.
Hold it! So you tried to find out who the culprit was? He who asks a question is a fool for a minute. He who does not remains a fool forever. And having been labeled a criminal twice during my time in Great Britain, I was quick to make up my mind.
Wait, twice?
Twice?
Oh. Anyway.
Better to be a fool for a minute than remain a fool in prison forever!
However, you've indicated that the victim failed to respond. Is that correct?
I know why. I know why the Englishwoman said nothing. She was ignoring me because of my stupid mustache! Because I'm Japanese! Oh dear. So Saseki-san has really developed a dislike for the English, it seems.
Having read the report on his time in Great Britain, I can't say I'm surprised at his xenophobia.
But the Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all. Did she, Mr. Rider Man?
Huh? Well, yes. All right. She did respond in a manner of speaking, I suppose. She just lifted her trembling finger and pointed in the direction of the defendant.
Hold it!
Hold it! Miss Brett pointed a finger at the defendant? Saseki-san, is that really true? It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us, with the student girl standing on the far side of her. And when I asked, who did this to you? The Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut, which was, it can't be denied, in the direction of the student girl who stands accused today.
Well, hang on a second. Can we refute this?
No.
Saseki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony?
But, fiddlesticks, I say!
This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese.
Yes, of course. The Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. In thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no, not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. To somewhere at the back of the hut where nobody was standing at all. You mean that your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear? Yes, that's it, unclear, and very, very unclear.
Objection! Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, perhaps her finger wavered slightly, but there can be no doubt that this was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because as the court can see, there was no other than the accused in the direction the victim was pointing. It is now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could possibly have committed this crime.
I am inclined to agree. And in the absence of any credible arguments to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude this trial.
Well, there is a credible argument.
No! No!
Headlines writing itself. Dashing lawyer's hopes dashed. 92 point across the whole page. We'll do an extra edition.
This is a serious blow, Susato. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claim with evidence, the judge will give his ruling and the trial will be over.
But that's impossible, Father! We don't even know how the crime was committed yet!
Impossible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learned thus far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need.
Rei gave us her account of how events unfolded in the defendant's antechamber before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment Miss Brett was killed.
The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet before collapsing on the floor in front of me, with a knife in her back.
How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but for herself and Rei? Somewhere amid all the information we've gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question.
I take it then that the defense has nothing further to add.
So, the gallant yokel student's luck finally runs out. I can't say I'm surprised.
In that case, I am ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter.
This is a crucial turning point now. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding? And how did he or she stab the victim?
I know how.
Yes, you do.
Objection!
Objection! Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to postpone your adjudication for the time being.
Oh, to what end, the counsel?
The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with her dying gesture.
Objection! An alternative theory? Ha! None exists.
Objection!
Objection! There was someone else present at the scene who could have committed this crime.
What?
And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was to those around her at the time by mustering all her remaining strength and pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction.
This is fiction. Fantasy.
Very well. As you seem so sure of yourself, counsel, I am prepared to hear your alternative theory. So, young Ryotaro Naruhodo,
Yes, Your Excellency.
you will present your latest theory to the court by means of this plan. At the moment the victim was stabbed, where exactly are you proposing the culprit was concealed? Behind that wall, I suppose.
Yep.
Take that!
Take that! Naruhodo-san would never give up. And I'm a Naruhodo now. The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett, it was concealed in this location here.
Are you mad, counsel? You're suggesting the culprit was outside the hut?
What?
What the hell is
Order! Order! Order!
But student lawyer Naruhodo-san Esquire, that makes no sense at all.
You've just pointed out the exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop snap. But I didn't see any suspicious individuals loitering about. I could swear to that.
Obviously, if the culprit had been outside the hut, there's no way that he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside the hut.
Actually, Prosecutor Ouchie, there is a way. And, in point of fact, the defense can provide evidence strongly suggesting that is precisely the way Miss Brett was killed.
You're bluffing. You're bluffing, you yokel.
The defense's assertion is clearly too fantastical for the courts to comprehend. You will need to give us more guidance, counsel. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut?
Nope, it's gotta be this one. See? Take that! I think I see it.
The original photographic print of the crime scene.
Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from outside the beach hut.
Objection! Do you take us for fools? There's no hint of any such thing.
I'm not sure that everyone present would agree. Someone at least appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to.
Counsel, once again I must call on you to be explicit for the court. Where on this photograph is the trace of the stabbing which you claim took place from outside the hut?
Right there.
Take that! Look closely just here. In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds.
No, I can't. I can't see any such thing.
It's true that the hut in question had 4 walls as you'd expect. However, by parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them.
This is extraordinary.
Yes. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut. And of everyone present at the scene, there is only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed. Rei Membami-san, it could only have been you!
No!
Objection!
Objection! This preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Just look at the photograph again. 'Cause every time I do, it makes me laugh. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume, as part of this farcical scenario, that the assailant was a knife thrower?
Objection! No, of course not.
We're not?
If you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death,
Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable.
A stool?
have another look at the photograph.
Because every time I do, it makes me laugh.
The slit in the read screen would align perfectly with the back of a person who was sitting on that stool.
My word! So, in fact, the victim was
Killed while sitting on that stool by a stab wound to her back delivered through the read screen.
Ah!
Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instinctively, but then, unable to speak, she collapsed on the floor in the middle of the hut, before the defendant, Membami-san's appalled eyes. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of what happened on the beach that day. By your silence, Minimimo-san, I take it that you don't deny the charge.
This is absurd!
order. That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means that the defendant, Membami-san, is innocent of the crime.
Huh? Oh, thank goodness. I finally made him cave.
I must say, I've never been more proud.
No, this can't be! The Ouchi-Khan can't! What of my growth? My growth of hope! It wasn't all an apparition! I can't accept this, I won't!
I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. I will therefore move to conclude proceedings by delivering my final verdict and—
Hold it!
Jesus Christ.
This ain't over yet.
Not quite.
Well, this is all very convenient. This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedom to speak and branding them as criminals?
But we've established that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut through the reed screen walls.
And no one but you was in place at the time to have his hand on the hilt of the blade. It's a perfectly logical deduction.
So, your argument hinges on the location of whoever stabbed the Englishwoman, does it? Well, it seems a little irrelevant now.
Irrelevant?
Where she was stabbed, how she was stabbed, doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference, if you think about it. After all, this trial's already shown the whole thing hinges on something else.
What are you talking about?
Brace yourself, little man. I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up.
What?
Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness.
What's to explain? I'm talking about the poison, of course. The poison? Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? I understand that a deadly poison you were developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? And it's been shown that this poison was administered to the victim, Miss Brett. Is that right?
That is correct. The unusual constriction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used.
I see. So, presumably that means that the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed.
Huh!
Given that her pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly likely, yes. If she had been dead already, the poison could not have circulated in her blood.
How refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely. It matters not a jot who stabbed whom, in whose back, and with whose blade. Because, quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison.
Objection! But that can't be explained by the poison being on the blade, as I already...
Objection! Forgotten already, have we, yokel? During these very proceedings, the laboratory of the professor at your side assisted in proving that the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever. So let me get this down. Facts, as skillfully established by the defense in this trial, turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Is that about right?
Well...
We're not quite ready yet. Not ready to come...
Order! But where does this leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There is an undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it.
You mean she just drank it?
Have another look at the photograph here. As you can see...
Uh-oh. I think we found somebody here. 3, 2... You're a lie. 19 minutes later, holy smokes. So sorry we missed your comment there, bub.
Big Willie Dubs has been in the house for the past 20 minutes. Sorry, my good man.
Okay, so have another look at the photo.
Oh, and thanks for the like.
I appreciate that.
As you can see, a bottle of carbonated water and a glass have been knocked onto the sandy floor of the beach hut. The poison could have been slipped into either.
So somebody made Miss Brett drink it?
Well, what do you know? Look at those dashing eyes. This will make a great front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense at all that I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, that's been established already.
Hold it! Established? What are you talking about?
Oh, don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you.
Me? What on earth does he mean?
Ooh, let me capture those wide eyes. This is prime press fodder, this is.
It would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet after all. I hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony.
That's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency.
You claim it to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You will explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim.
I'm a journo and I'm a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. And I'm not about to start now, because that's many-memoism.
For a brief moment, I thought I'd illuminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. Just where is this trial going to take us?
No, we're almost there. Just keep watch.
Witness testimony time.
Complete innocence. Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman, and it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent. Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, got my goat. The courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did. Someone else would have to see justice done.
Well. So, you admitted then that everything happened as I described. That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the read screen.
You could blame this miserable country of ours.
Huh.
Country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free? What kind of future could a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back. I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. Oh, wow. Someone who spends his life seeing that the truth is told. I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me.
Huh.
That's right. You guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart.
You're implicating Rei again.
She's the one who gave the poison to the English woman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap, this journal here is off the hook.
The argument is sound, certainly. If the witness had administered the poison himself, he need only have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical.
Well, hold on to that thought. And therefore, this reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical. That's right, it is. Logical and true. I'm glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last.
This is unbelievable. And after I made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he going to get away with it now?
No, he's not.
Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. They never stop looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel.
Very well then, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial.
Yes, Your Excellency. All right, buckle up, boneheads. It's time to reveal the truth about this whole thing. Complete innocence.
Oh yes, I stabbed the English woman, and that's that very fact that proves I'm innocent.
Hold it! Hold it! So, you do admit that you had murderous intentions toward Miss Brett, then?
Ha! The woman's very existence offended my sense of justice.
Your sense of... He's claiming some sort of righteous indignation.
She was pure evil. Cold-blooded killer who'd committed murder right here on our empire's soil. Did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance. So I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice. Put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty. That's what drove me to do it.
So, in summary, murderous intentions then.
Whatever you want to call it, the point is this. That Englishwoman was a blight, so I had to do what was right for society. Yet a real wrong was done by the student girl in the dock, a crime for which she must pay. Obviously, because the poisoning was nothing to do with me at all. Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? I'm just going to go story mode here. When I heard student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, got my goat.
Hold it!
Hold it! What exactly were they arguing about?
About what happened in that restaurant 9 months ago, that's what. Student girl was laying into the English woman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, John H. Wilson.
That's a lie. She was talking to her about the poison.
A professor of medicine, invited here from England by Professor Mikotoba, no less.
Right. The English woman just jeered. Her case was to be heard by the British Consular Court in Shanghai. However, there is little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. I was eating that student girl up inside, you could see it. I really felt for her. Hold it! Yeah, put it.
Hold it! I can't. I can't stand here and listen to this tripe.
Ray! Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whenever you feel like it.
No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen.
But this awful man is making all of this up. Susato, please, you have to make them listen.
Careful, Ray.
Return to the dock at once, Membami-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination.
Hold it!
Hold it! Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness.
Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty, great peeping Tom.
Whoa, take it easy there.
Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say.
Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks.
I will grant the request of the defense.
Huh? But, Your Excellency!
This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it will be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak.
Oh. Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
All right.
It was nothing to do with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
Courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did. Someone else will have to see justice done.
Hold it!
Let's do
Hold it! The stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean?
I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson.
That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult.
That's true. I pestered Professor Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his laboratory. And as I left, I was searched from top to tail.
Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we've been developing, you see, and since the Seki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance.
I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with a deadly poison. I wanted to look my own enemy in the eye! Surely you can understand that!
To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't be just the university. The military would be dragged into it. The whole government even. It would be a complete disaster.
And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns?
She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually.
Yes. Minimemo-san, one small question, if you don't mind.
I do mind. Can't you see I'm busy?
Clearly, you were outside the beach hut, listening in whilst the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else.
Sorry, don't know what you're talking about.
Yes! Look at this! The entire article! It's almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word!
Well, Mini Mammal-san?
As a journo, and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. That's a founding principle of mini-memoism.
Father's clearly right about this. That reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut.
The tale of the poison article has been updated in court record.
So that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her.
Shut up! My stories never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, it doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want it to go on record.
Very well. You may amend your formal testimony.
Oh, he's gonna lose it.
The point is, if you'd poisoned someone, there'd be no reason to then go and stab the person as well.
Okay, well, explain this. Objection! Well, I can think of one reason.
What?
But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut? Of course he did. There can be no question of that. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told is that it was a terrible toxin. And there is one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Membami-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink.
Objection! Where are you going with this, counsel?
Minimemo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it.
Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison whilst the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Membami-san entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put.
When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison.
At which point, Minimemo-san overheard some worrying information.
Worrying information? What worrying information?
The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy and that it couldn't be readily obtained.
Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come from is my lab.
And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs in death.
The extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable.
In other words, it will be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people.
Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. Membami-san being no exception.
Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you, Rei 10 Mini Memo.
No, what the hell?
It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day, and it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that was a terrible mistake.
Because the poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so traceable.
As you listened in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learned of these facts, but you'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late, so you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the read screen.
Objection! But what good could that possibly do?
Isn't it obvious, counsel? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect.
Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he?
Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would have ever suspected.
This is extraordinary.
Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use, which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back.
Order! 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 The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward?
There are a number of... yes, I counter completely.
Objection! The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his top knot, he is clinging to lost hope.
Lost hope? How dare you? Hold it! You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai! Fallen? Who are you calling fallen? I don't need a counter-argument!
What are you talking about?
It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say. Gave it to the victim, you say. Stabbed her, you say. Lots of fine theories. But I don't need a counter-argument, because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? Huh? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts.
Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself.
What the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here, in my many memos. Every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. That's what the Show You News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word.
But surely it will be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin, be it developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out will be very difficult.
How's that then? Blown the story wide open? See? I, Rei Membami, a mere reporter from the Show You News, couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory.
Oh, yes, he could have. Don't give up now.
Not yet. But there can't be any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it and used it to kill. And if that's the case... As you've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here.
What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin?
My point is this. There is one way that you, Mini-Memo-san, could have stolen the poison that day.
Huh?
I have heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. What the courts must be shown is evidence. What proof do you have that this witness stole the poison on the day in question?
It's the pen.
Take that!
Take that! The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen.
Ha! A fountain pen? How can that possibly be relevant?
These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now.
Bah! I swear by a weasel hair I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a fad.
Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. Stuck up a sumptuous ink, and one's work is washed with words in the blink of an eye. That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later.
What does all this talking of sucking up ink have?
And just as it's possible to suck ink up into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course.
My word! Can this really be?
Well, Mini-Memo-san? When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir.
Gah! Objection! More absurdity! That never happened!
True, we heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory, but would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places?
No. I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say.
I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Mini-Memo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped?
Are you suggesting?
The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass.
Objection! There could be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand.
Objection! No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink?
What?
As you can see for yourself, if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass.
Witness, what do you have to say in your defense?
So this is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? I can always claw my way back to the game. I have plenty in reserve. Ha! No. You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen? That's wild speculation, nothing more. If you thought you could bring down a fine, upstanding citizen with a trick like that, think again.
It looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends upon whether or not the defense can prove that he did with evidence.
Ha! No such evidence could possibly exist!
Objection! Mini-Memo-san, this is how our modern justice system works.
What?
In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you.
Very well then. I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence.
This is it then. This will be the final piece in the puzzle. The defense can prove by means of this item that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison.
Everybody ready?
Ready.
Take that!
Counsel, What is that bottle?
This bottle contains a unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question. Ah!
Yes, that poison. That poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It will be impossible to detect traces of it by any other means.
Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all could check for traces of the poison.
Huh? A reagent? What?
One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, Minimemo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt.
No, you can't. I won't.
Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat.
Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once.
Okay, I'm ready.
This isn't my fault! The Emperor drove me to this! Trying to hold his head high as a civilized nation, my barracks had any flowers swim. I took arms from the mighty pen. All in the name of justice and righteousness. Many. Ow!
Susato, with me!
I'm there.
Friatoro takedown!
Did I do it right? That was Susato takedown, wasn't it?
Not quite. That was a Ryutaro takedown.
Love it.
The instant the first drop of the reagent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present.
When I saw it there in the lab, the poison, the devil got a hold of me, and I decided to do it on a whim. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully.
And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen.
Yes, that's right.
Answer me one thing, Minimemo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose?
Isn't it obvious? Find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it's a secret project after all. Too juicy for a journal like me to pass up. Then why did the English woman end up dead? I went into that hut intending to quiz her on the situation. That's all. As a reporter, a known killer, enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country, I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face!
Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really? You must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways, you ignorant plebeian.
What did you call me?
This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf! Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from.
That's when I remembered about the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time.
What a terrible tale.
In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. Couldn't let her get away with what she'd done. She clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journal spirit getting all fired up.
Rated Minimemo, you're under arrest on suspicion of the murder of Giselle Brett. Bailiff, take him away.
Well, before you do, I'd like to ask you something.
Yes?
You often talk about justice. But surely as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver to the justice you sought.
There's no justice in the press.
Sorry?
After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. Finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up, that's what it was.
A cover-up? What do you mean?
I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say.
Oh, come on. Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national? Consular jurisdiction should never have come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan.
What sort of deal?
I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt. I was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up.
He came under pressure from the government, you mean?
If our government is going to let criminals walk free, if they're going to crush the free press, then what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself?
Let's not forget, Minimemo-san, that you committed murder yourself and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle Brett.
What?
The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all.
I suppose.
It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryotaro Naruhodo.
Yes. Sorry, Your Excellency, just musing in a manly way here.
It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience of the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits.
Oh, no, hold on. Ryunosuke, you mean?
The way he handled the trial 9 months ago, and the way you handled this one, it gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land.
That's very flattering, Your Excellency.
Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries.
Thank you.
So, Prosecutor Auchi, do you have any final thoughts?
Prosecutor Auchi.
I, Takatsushi Auchi of the Auchi clan, have been bested by a callow youth not once now, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it has withered and died here today.
Gosh, your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it?
Silence! Rather than living on in shame, I will end it all now with this blade. For that is the true path to Auchiism.
Auchi-ism?
One hopes that's the only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witness.
Sprig of my topknot, the time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Takatsuchi. No!
Oh, God. Jesus. And they're all in reverence.
And him too.
And Soseki-san as well. And Hosonaga. Ah, shit.
Well, you know what that means.
Now, in regard to the defendant, Rei Membami-san,
Yes, Your Excellency?
I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you.
Say it with us, say it with us, everybody. Not guilty! Yay!
Off the hook, young
Let's
lady.
go!
Court is adjourned.
There you go.
That's
Hang
it.
on, kids. We got one last piece of business to attend to today.
That's right.
Stay tuned.
13th of August, 2:38 p.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Defendant Antechamber, number 3.
I really hope that my Ray voice is okay.
It should be. Let's see. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I can do just to stay standing. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san?
Susato! Susato! Thank you. Thank you so much. You were so dashing in there.
Ray and Father.
Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no, I think I'm gonna cry.
It wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end, too.
The only reason I'm still here is because of you.
Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray. So I would have to say that the congratulations belong to you.
Huh. Susato, don't be so standoffish.
Sorry?
We're friends, equals, and the trial's over. So no more of this formal super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger, to throw caution to the wind.
Caution to the... what?
I'm the great defense lawyer Ryotaro Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. Or something.
Right, I see. I'll, think about it, Ray.
At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt... and it felt so good.
Yes, it was satisfying.
It really was. Isn't there anybody else we could throw together?
I hope you're not looking at me, Ray.
Oh my goodness, no, of course not, of course not.
Ah, there it is at last. Ray's lovely smile.
You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I am extremely proud of you. Defense Attorney Ryotaro Naruhodo.
Thank you, but I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryotaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotoba now.
So, I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame.
What?
What? What is happening? Sasaki-san and Inspector Hasanaga, I do hope you've been keeping well.
Is that really you?
Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope. But it's me, Susato Mikotoba. I don't. So dashing, so divine. No! Doubly dashing, yes! Devilishly divine. Just look at you. I had no idea, Mr. Susato-san Esquire, that you were Locum Student Naruhodo-san Esquire's cousin. Astonishingly astounding Ace Attorney! Poor Sasaki-san. So confused. I still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum it was that the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. But after Naruhodo-san's skillful defense at the Old Bailey, Sasaki-san was free to return to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author.
I'm stunned. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea. And I'm a chief inspector at the police bureau who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less. Ridiculous.
I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector.
Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see.
Just two, really. And this was a once-in-a-lifetime event, I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector.
Well, I am a professional, of course.
I do worry about Inspector Hasanaga sometimes. I really do. 9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover, disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. Though that didn't help you, did it? Kazuma-sama.
Ugh, don't remind me.
Oh, God.
Ugh.
From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the murder that the Englishwoman committed at the end of last year.
Ah, yes. It was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it.
Dr. John H. Wilson, yes. The man I invited to Japan personally.
The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer.
Oh, you're gonna find out.
On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter with Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean.
Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course.
My arch-nemesis. How lightly you utter his name. Well, according to the stories published about him in The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes, a best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson.
What? The Dr. Wilson?
I just can't believe that it's a coincidence.
I think that the
English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been the friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. And if that's really true...
We'll find out why.
Yeah.
As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born.
Yes, grandmother told me about it.
On returning to Japan, I took upon my professorship at the Imperial Yumei University, but I also served another role as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs.
Yes, I was aware of that as well.
In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you.
Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with a high fever, and you were growing weaker by the day.
What? Where did that news come from?
That's what I'd like to know, because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way? Or harm me? That's really the only explanation I can think of.
Dear me, do you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susato? I'm sorry, my dear. I simply can't...
Ah! Let me go!
Memo-san!
So, one throw wasn't enough for you?
I got one last thing to say before they take me away, Professor.
Me?
I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on, in that visiting student's fate. Visiting student? Giselle Brett, you mean? No, not her. The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago.
What? Student of law? He must mean... Kazuma-sama! What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama?
Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never... Whoa!
Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. What were your officers playing at?
Terribly sorry, Your Excellency.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw hider has arrived, Eugen, and it's a good job I came by. Yes, thank you for dealing with him, and I'll be there shortly.
Oh, Your Excellency.
The trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend, Seshiro Chikogu. And may I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance. Susato.
Huh? Did you know all along? From the start of the trial?
A judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take the risk. If Seshiro here had known, and then he'd recognize you, so I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Seshiro, shall we? Yes. Having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address.
Before you go, Father.
Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. But well done again, both of you. You did admirably.
Oh, thank you very much.
What did you think of my Seshiro sling, eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that.
Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Giselle Brett, about Dr. Wilson, and now it seems, according to the reporter, about Cosmo-sama. I'm gonna have to bring this up with Father sometime, when nobody else is around. Judicial Assistant Mikotoba-san, Esquires, could I have a word? Oh, yes, of course, Sasaki-san. What is it? I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see, there's something I need to tell you. Oh, I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England. Oh, this I have to hear. Please, Sasaki-san, tell me at once. I will! As you know, my time in England was terrible, cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on the ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report. My father? He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day that he sent the telegram to you, asking you to return to Japan. What was it then? The particular part my father was interested in? I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in? Of course, I could never forget. Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case. The second one? You mean the one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first? Well, I don't care. I don't have to listen to what that dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. That horrific, hideous, heinous case. The case of the haunted lodgings.
Huh? What? What?
That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan. I thought that whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told.
So then we're going to have to turn the clock back to tell that story.
Well, now what? Oh.
All right. And we have a concluding cutscene.
The mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Sosek-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in.
So sick. So.
Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
So, you must be asking yourselves, what in the world could be that case that Soseki was talking about?
Well, there's one answer and one answer only. Find out next week.
That's right. So that's going to be it for today.
So here's a little tiny preview. So, the next episode is The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. But what exactly does that mean?
Well, only one way to find out, folks.
Tune in next week. So, for the package, Andrew Steele, and I am the Cannonball, Alex Steele.
I am the package, Andrew Steele.
I just said that, but whatever. we are the Steele Brothers, and we are for real.